My family blamed me for my brother's injury for 20 years. Then I found the records and proved they'd lied to me my whole life. When I was 9, my brother fell from a tree in our backyard and hit his back on the stone edging below. He came home from the hospital months later in a wheelchair and never walked again. I was inside the house when it happened, but after that day, everything changed. They started treating me like I'd done something monstrous. My parents stopped tucking me in. At dinner, they'd ask my brother about his day, and when I tried to speak, they'd look at their plates. When I made the honor roll in 4th grade, my dad glanced at the certificate and walked off without a word. By middle school, it was worse. My brother started at my school, and suddenly everyone knew the story. Teachers gave me pitying looks. Kids went quiet when I passed, then whispered once I was gone. One day, someone said it to my face, that I was the reason my brother couldn't walk. I went home and asked my parents if it was true. My mom looked at me cold and said, "You dared him to climb that high. You egged him on." Everything seemed to click into place. At family gatherings, aunts and uncles lectured me about recklessness. My grandparents stopped acknowledging my birthday. Every holiday, I watched my brother open a mountain of gifts while I got 2 or 3 things. When I asked once, my mom said, "He suffered enough because of you." High school was lonely. I ate lunch hidden in the library. Things got dark for me around 16, and I asked my parents if I could talk to someone. A counselor, a therapist, anyone. My dad brushed it off, said help was for people who deserved it, so I carried it alone. The day I turned 18, I packed everything and left. I got a tiny apartment, worked nights, put myself through community college. My parents covered everything for my brother. School, a car, a place to live. When I asked why they wouldn't help me, my mom said, "You know why? By my mid-20s, I had a steady job and someone in my life who actually cared about me. But the guilt was eating me from the inside." I started seeing a therapist. 3 sessions in, she stopped me and asked something that knocked the wind out of me. "Do you actually remember what happened that day? Or do you only remember being told what happened?" I froze because I realized I didn't remember the fall at all. I'd been inside. I only remembered my mother telling me that night that I'd caused it. I called my old neighborhood, tracked down which hospital he'd been taken to, and started requesting records, the intake report, the accident notes. It took weeks. I barely slept waiting. When the file finally came, I stared at the envelope a long time, terrified it would confirm everyone was right about me. I opened it. The intake notes were clear. My brother had climbed the tree alone. The report taken from the adults present stated plainly that no other child was involved, that he'd lost his grip near the top and fallen, and that I'd been inside the house and come running out after. There was even a note from the neighbor who called the ambulance saying the same thing. I drove to my parents' house and walked in without knocking. I held up the file. I was inside. The report says so. The neighbor says so. I wasn't anywhere near him. My mom stood, her face draining of color. My dad sat frozen. "You told me I caused it," I said. "For 20 years." My dad's voice came out quiet. "We got the report the week after. We knew you weren't involved." I felt like I'd been hit. Then why lie? He couldn't look at me. "We were falling apart. We needed someone to blame, and you were there. So we blamed you." Then my brother rolled into the hallway. "I saw you come running out after I was already down," he said, his voice breaking. "I've known the whole time you didn't do anything." I walked out without another word. Here's where I've landed, a year on. I didn't cut them off out of rage. I did it because I finally understood that the story that nearly destroyed me was never true, and I don't owe my healing to the people who wrote it. My brother and I are slowly, carefully rebuilding. He's the one who was lied to as well, and he spent this year proving he means it. My parents still write. I haven't answered. Some wounds you don't reopen just because the person who made them is finally sorry. But for the first time in 20 years, I know I was innocent, and I'm done carrying a guilt that was never mine. If this story stirred anything up in you, that feeling of being blamed for something that wasn't your fault, or thoughts that get dark and heavy, please talk to someone. It's a sensitive thing to sit with alone, and there are people who will actually listen. If you ever want help finding them, I'm glad to point the way.